Okay, so we mentioned quite a bit about below soil. Above soil is important because it helps you gauge when to kill it and all that fun stuff, but what we're actually doing is trying to feed the soil or put stuff in the soil to help it out. So we went on and on about how well brassicas can drill holes in the ground, and then we went out to find examples of it, and it was kind of tough. The radishes, which you can tell by the white or purple flowers and the nice pods that taste like radishes, make a pretty good sized root. They can get a lot bigger, planted earlier in looser soil and so on and so forth. But they do make a good tap root, so it does reach down in there. These always break off before you can get them out of the ground. And again, you whack it off here with the mower. This is going to rot away. There's a channel for water to go down in. And then I got poor examples here, but I have a yellow mustard and a white mustard and an oriental mustard basically. Usually it's a single taproot, but in this case they're making kind of a branch taproot system. But as the top dies off, this all rots away basically and leaves channels for air and water to move in and out of the soil type of thing. So they're doing their job. Earlier soil prep, who knows what all could go on. Probably just dug them up in the wrong place. The rest of them were all straight down headed for China, but these all bent. So that's why the brassicas kind of are in a lot of mixes anymore, is because they have that capability of making that root system where other things don't. Because here's a triticale, actually several triticales, and we lost quite a few roots, I'm sure, out of it. But you can see, yeah, he's got a pretty deep root system, but it doesn't have necessarily the volume that the root system underneath of the mustards might have. So that fibrous root system's usually thickest in the top foot, but will reach 3 or 4 feet down. So you've got that, and you've got those. So you got something that's mining down below. You got something that's keeping a lot of stuff up close to the surface happy with root exudate, some place to live, some place to trade some fertilizer, some fertility, and some sugar and what have you. So then we have legumes, which most people is what they look for in their cover crop. And a legume is basically a family of plants that has the ability to fix nitrogen from the atmosphere. What they would call the nodulation is the evidence of the relationship between the rhizobium bacteria and the legume plant itself. The bacterium infects the cell, turns it into a storage thing, and then starts to basically make nitrogen and fix it in there. So when that plant dies and leaves that behind, this breaks down even slower than the rest of it does. So that's part of how it makes a net increase in nitrogen production into the soil chemistry.
And this is vetch.
This is common vetch, used quite often in biomass or cover crop mixes. Don't use it by itself most of the time because it can be kind of susceptible to soil conditions. It can be kind of susceptible to some diseases. So we would combine it with a 4-HP, which would be real similar to garden peas or green peas that you would eat, or sweet pea. Well, no, sweet peas is a different family. And again, made the nodules. It's a legume. Actually, it's fixating better than it seems that the common vetch is.
More nodules.
More nodules. Plant, and the amount of nitrogen you get out of the whole thing is actually due to biomass total. So if this weighed more than this, which it doesn't, feeling like anyways, and yeah, this thing's big and bushy and climbs up the tree and everything else, the peas especially are worse than vetch in being susceptible to wet soil problems because they're soft, hollow, full of nitrogen. If they were laying in a puddle, they'll rot off. So the triticale or small grain and the faba beans actually act as support for the peas to keep them up off the ground. This vetch doesn't climb so bad, but it will climb as well. Other vetches do climb even worse. So that comes into your termination decisions. It's like, okay, it's starting to climb out and go up the trees, and I better kill it now or I'll really have problems. And then faba beans, which is actually a vetch. These are there's the big seeded ones, and then there's the small seeded ones. This is the small seeded one because it'll go through a grain drill. And it's actually a vetch. But you can see it has a pretty healthy taproot underneath of it as well. So it's helping open the soil up at least in the top 6-8 inches real well. But it's got a lot of nodulation going on it. Grasses come up usually a little faster and cover the ground a little faster than the legumes will. So that helps on the early end on helping your soil, protecting your soil surface. And then the brassicas are good nitrogen scavengers, make an extensive deep taproot system, and they'll have a certain amount of protein in their top growth that is going to contribute to the nitrogen contribution. They didn't fix any, but they didn't let very much get by them either. And they also come up very fast and help protect the soil surface. So the interaction of a bunch of different root systems and different root actions is what makes a mix work somewhat better than something all by itself. So yeah, we did talk about weeds, native cover crop, whatever you want to call it, naturalized. So resident vegetation. This one's Poa annua. Everybody's got it this year because it's Poa annua year. But that root system was only about that deep. That's why we could wash so much of it out of it and not lose it. But it has a grassy root system like this. But it doesn't make as much roots. It's short growing, reseeds real fast. Not a big fan. This is what we call burr clover or medic. We actually use this in some mixes. That's where the burr clover comes from. And it looks similar to a clover. The leaves have a similar to a clover. It's not a true trifolium. I don't see any nodules, but he probably had some on him. He's a legume. He fixes stuff. It may be something that flourishes very well in a situation. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll kind of go, you know what, if it flourishes real well right there, why don't we utilize the darn thing? Because even if we didn't turn it in, it's still fixed nitrogen, the top's still got nitrogen in it, and you just let it rot down, it's there. And it's providing the soil coverage, and it's got little yellow flowers that some bugs like, that type of stuff. We'll use it in conjunction with true clovers, make a clover mix that can reseed itself. So the progression could be, okay, we went out, pioneered it with triticale and figured out how to do it. Then we put in a diverse mix for a couple of years, and we built our soil up, or vice versa. Got everything settled in, and then we went in and with a little more finesse, we planted this thing that can reseed itself. And then we mow it once or twice, and then we let it bloom and make seeds. And we mow it once or twice, and it's all gone. But it left all the seed on the ground. So it can come back the next spring, and we're not having to plant again.
And the medic is an annual.
This medic is an annual. It's related to alfalfa, but this one's an annual. Reason people don't really like it is because those teeth on the seed pods get in your socks and in your dog's fur and in the wool and all that fun stuff. There are a couple out there that don't have those teeth, varieties that don't have those teeth on them or have less aggressive teeth. Those come out of Australia for the most part because it's an important crop for them, seed-wise and feed. Our system is, we grow walnuts. Their system is, I have a sheep herd that I shear 3 times a year and sell the lambs off of, and I have a patch of walnuts. It's a difference in how they look at it and how they manage, what their agronomic management style is. So they've selected for ones that have less teeth or no teeth on them type of things. So this is a burr clover or burr medic. There's barrel medics that don't have teeth on them. There's one called snail, which has a bigger seed pod on it. And it plays well with things like subterranean clover and things like that, but we'll have to do that chapter down the road a little bit.
Tom Johnson of Campus Seed, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me out here today.